Hello and welcome to WorldForge AI, where we talk about everything to do with world building and how we can use AI to help us create and brainstorm and help to sort of give you some ideas on how to build your world. Now, today is going to be on a specific part of world building itself. I did a previous video on the basics of how to sort of set up a sort of continent, a tribe, and a town village within a certain area of that continent using Gemini Advanced, Google's AI. And please remember, you can actually sign up for Google Gemini Advanced right now. Is 2 months trial for free. It's very, very similar to ChatGPT, but I do find I get a lot better sort of responses from Google Gemini than I do from ChatGPT, so there's that as well. But in today's episode, we're going to be designing sort of a unique and intricate magic system within your world. I'm going to teach you to do some prompts that are specifically geared towards Gemini Advanced. Now, why a magic system is so important in storytelling, especially in fictional fantasy, and even in some sort of science fiction ways, if you're going to be going techno magic route or a magitech route. It's also very important on all kinds of fictional fronts to have this basis within your world. It allows you to set a limit on how powerful beings can be, and also allows for greater progression during the storyline for maybe your protagonist, or if you're making an anime again, for your protagonist, or for other characters, side characters, secondary, primary characters, etc. Having it sort of set up in one go before you start to build your story really helps, at least the way I do things. I always like to build the world first and have all the information I have for the world, the races, the nations, country, the continent, the different areas, the magic system, etc. And today we'll be teaching you how to do a magic system using Google Gemini Advanced. So I guess we'll start off with what makes a good magic system. Now, we're talking about rules, we're talking about limitations and cultural integration, and make it make sense within your world. Different cultures and tribes may have different magic depending on what religions they have. Maybe it depends on the structure. Maybe you have a mage society that focuses on all magic, and then you'll have a more holy empire that will focus on more fire and light magic. And then you'll have some remnants of dark orders that may have something like shadow and death magic. It's really important to make it make sense so your readers, your viewers, your gamers can sort of understand exactly what's going on and have it make sense in their mind. There are general rules and limitations that are needed unless you're making some sort of overpowered MC anime where they're just super powerful and destroy everyone, and it's more about the character interactions than actual power progression. But it is a really good idea to have limitations when writing novels and novellas, for example. So today we'll be using Gemini Advanced, as you can see in the background, to brainstorm and refine our magic system. So the first prompt we're going to be putting in here is describe the essential components of a compelling magic system and give examples from popular fantasy works. This is sort of a basis to give you an idea if you don't have an idea yourself. Now, all of these videos I'm going to be doing will create a world in which I'm going to create a novel series on. So everything that we're going to be doing in these videos will eventually be part of a novel that I'm creating, a novel series that I'm creating, which will be a fun idea to sort of progress the world, and then we start making the book itself. I think that will be a nice idea, so we can see the progression whilst using AI to help us write a full novel. So let's go a little bit more in depth into the components, the essential components in making a magic system, the rules and limitations. A well-defined magic system has clear rules and limitations that govern how magic works. These rules create a sense of internal consistency and logic, making the magic feel believable and grounded within the world. Example, in Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite novelists, if you're a fantasy fan and big fantasy fan of giant spanning worlds, Brandon Sanderson's one of the best, and the Mistborn series is actually really amazing for character development, world building, the magic system, etc. It's a really original idea and I really love it. Then you look at the source and the cost of the magic itself. Where does the magic come from? Is it an innate ability? Is it a gift from a god? Is it, for example, an artifact that someone picks up that grants the protagonist power? Is it going to have physical exhaustion, emotional strain? Is there sacrifices of some kind? You've got diversity and creativity. You don't want everyone to have the same magic. You kind of want it to, well, you can have everyone have the same magic and build off the same principles and have maybe 4 nations with 4 different elements, like something like Avatar, where they have the 4 different elements. You got earth, wind, fire, and water. That's a good basis. Then you got magic systems like in Harry Potter, where there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spells. They should have consequences and impact, and the magic should have meaningful consequence and a lasting impact on the world that you're creating. You don't want it to just, I'll cast a fireball here and it does nothing. I'll do this here. you can again have something like that, but it really depends on what kind of novel or whatever you're trying to create. And then you got to think about evolution and growth. Do you want your main character to just be super powerful from the beginning, having all the most powerful of everything right from the start, or do you want him to start weaker and grow as a character? Grow as a character, have his emotional state change as he gets more powerful, give him internal conflicts, make it more meaningful to the people that are reading, that are watching, that are playing, rather than just here's a guy, he's super powerful, he'll blow stuff up. That's left for overpowered MC anime. But this also allows you to have a basis starting off with a smaller amount of magic for your first novel, and then work your way up and expand that magic system as you go through your novel series, or your anime, or your game, or your manga, or your webcomic, web novel, whatever you're trying to create. So what I like to do from the start on how I actually create a magic system is to create the core concept. Where does it come from? Is it part of an innate ability? Are people in your world born with magic from the beginning? Are they born with different levels of magic? Is it naturally gifted, or is it a deity that gives you that magic? Is it technological in nature? If you want to go for a mix of sci-fi / fantasy feel, and then sort of determine how it is accessed and how it is used. And that's where we'll be talking about the source and the cost. So the source, where does it come from? And what is the actual cost of using these abilities? So if you don't have an idea for your magic system, this would be a basic AI prompt to start your brainstorming of your magic system. So generate a list of potential sources of magic and how they can be accessed by users in a fantasy world. And then once you've done that, it will generate a list for you. And it's given us a list of different sources. So you've got innate ability. That's where they are born with. It's tied to bloodlines, the soul or essence, and they access it through the ability and sort of gain and develop through training, meditation, or rituals. So the force in Star Wars is an example of this. You've got elemental forces where they draw from the natural world, fire, water, earth. That's more of your Avatar, the Last Airbender type stuff. Oh, I actually said that in the example there. And Dragon Age. Mage is in Dragon Age is another one. Dragon Age is one of my favorite RPGs ever made. You got divine intervention. This is sort of like where gods grant your powers. You pull the power from gods. You're looking at clerics in Dungeons and Dragons and paladins in World of Warcraft, etc., etc. You got arcane knowledge, and it is unlocked through study, research, and mastery of spells, formulas, and rituals. This is more in line with Lord of the Rings and The Witcher. You have emotional energy, blood magic, otherworldly entities, and technology. Now, for my world, I would like to be a sort of divine intervention. So I'm going to add that in here and sort of give it a basis of what my magic system will be like. And this is what you'd sort of put in if you want to brainstorm ideas on the rules and limitations, etc. So I'm going to write in here, I am creating a magic system for my novella series. The magic system will be based on gods granting powers to heroes. In this magic system, there will be 6 gods, 5 of which are part of 5 different nations, one being part of a long dead and forgotten religion. Now this is the one that I'm going to be focusing on because the book that the novel series is going to be based on the building of a nation, on restoring the religion of one god who has been long forgotten after losing part of this god war. So this god will be the god of shadow and death. The god will not be inherently evil, but morally grey. The abilities he can bestow on his chosen is going to be shadow manipulation, shadow depth, and necromancy. Normally in fantasy worlds, necromancy is seen as evil, but in my world it will be seen as evil by the rest of the nations because that is how they deem necromancy to be. But necromancy in itself isn't inherently evil. People use things and it becomes evil depending on how they're using it. People see as raising the dead or taking control of a dead ally, etc., as inherently evil, but for me, that doesn't count as being inherently evil. It depends on the setting and the world itself. So give me some abilities and strength / weaknesses for the other 5 gods. Make it make sense. And I would like a rock, paper, scissors type structure for each. So it's given us 5 of the gods and their strengths, weaknesses, what their abilities they can bestow on their selected hero. We've got the goddess of light and life. We've got the god of wind and sky, we've got the god of earth and stone, we've got the god of water and ice, and the god of fire and flame. So the rock, paper, scissors dynamic. So light beats death, fire beats wind, wind beats earth, earth beats water, water beats light, and it's going to go sort of in that kind of thing. Now, you're going to want to go through all of this. As everything that I say in every video, you're going to want to go through all of this and make it your own. AI is good at sort of giving you ideas, but it's not good at sort of breaking it all down. So if you're looking to create a system only with AI, with none of your own ideas, etc., it can sort of be a bit too picture perfect. And the problem with having it too picture perfect is it doesn't have the natural feel that it would have being created by someone themselves. It's just sort of, it makes it so perfect that it can seem boring, at least in my opinion. So you're going to want to go through, you're going to want to say, right, I like this bit of this idea, this bit of this idea, this bit of this idea. And when they've given you this, you're going to go through and you're going to pick and choose different parts. You want to change the name? I don't like this name. And as in all of the videos, I don't like the name Solara for the goddess of light and life. Please give me 5 ideas for other names that are unique and original. And you're going to want to do the same thing for fire manipulation, control over fire, for example. If you don't like the idea of the full control over fire and you just want them to be able to create flames or explosions or barriers of heat, or if you have specific ideas on what these abilities can be, maybe the fact that it could be more of a martial setting where the fire is used in conjunction with a sword or a weapon or a gun, depending on where your technological level is in your fantasy world. So it's given us different ones. Got Luminara, Ilara, Vita, Oriel, Kyla. For me, these are still not very, very good. AI gives you pretty bad names. You can do more specific things. Give me 5 more names that have the letters N, I, and P, but make it make sense to the light and life dynamic. Now this gives it a lot more constraints with the AI, so it can make more original names. So like Niva, Pinara, Linape, Nifa, and then it will give you explains of what kinds of, so tropical abundance and the sun's wrath is a type of palm tree, and you got Issa Nippa, combining Isis, the Egyptian goddess of life and healing, with Nippa, a palm tree for multi-layered connection to life and light. Hinara. So it comes out with much better names when you sort of give it a little bit of constraint and limitation. So now we're going to move on to the rules and limitations of this actual system itself with the gods. Now, I'm not going to go through every single thing and make it my own. This will be something I do afterwards, as this will be part of the novel series that I'm creating. So we're going to use the system that it's got in place already, but we're just going to make sure that it knows I will stick with Solara. So it knows that you're going to be sticking with that actual thing. So let's move on to the rules and limitations of this magic system. Now, depending on the story you're actually creating, you're going to want to maybe decide if you want your character to be overpowered or not, or if you don't want them to be overpowered, if you want them to be much stronger than everyone else in the world and give them slightly stronger edge, but you're going to want to have limitations. So if you're going to be brainstorming ideas for the limitations, then something like this will be able to make you sort of get some ideas in your bucket. So using the above magic system suggests 3 innovative limitations for magic system that prevent it from being overpowered. And it's given me 3 ideas. So divine resonance, emotional balance, and finite divine energy. So the divine resonance will be that they're uniquely attuned to their specific type of magic, and they can't use other types of magic other than, say, for instance, life and light, shadow and death, fire and flame, etc., etc. And depending on what powers they have, it can be considering what time of day they fight in. Fire and flame will be better in the day, life and light will be better in the day, shadow and death will be better at night, etc., etc. So it gives more strategic depth to everything. So you got the emotional balance, which I don't personally like emotional balances, because I like the fact that I like my characters to sort of grow as a character rather than have the abilities they have affect the way their personality is. It can be good to have that kind of thing, but it's very unoriginal, at least for me. Where, say, fire and flame, the guy's gonna be boisterous and angry all the time. He's gonna be smashing things up because fire is that way. And then you'll have stone and earth, where the guy will be strong, defensive, and stoic, for example. Or shadow and death will be meek and weak and bent over and arch-backed, and the way he speaks, and they're always evil and dark, etc., etc. So emotional balance is not a big one for me. But there's finite divine energy. The gods of power is not limitless, and use it excessively can have consequences for both the hero and the world around them. And that will create a system of checks and balances that will allow that if they're using more powerful things, how much will it affect everything around them? Fire will destroy entire villages if you use too much, for example, something like that. So for this magic system, I would like the divine resonance rules and limitation. And then we move on to the next part. So what it's done is given us the domain empowerment. Again, you're going to want to go through this, make it your own, make it more towards your vision itself. Don't allow the AI to write the world for you. use the AI to help build your world. So now we're going to be talking about the costs and consequences. Using the above system, propose various costs associated with using magic and their possible long-term effects on users. And always say using the above system, always have it in the same chat while you're doing this all in one setting. And then at the end, you can do what I always tell to do in my videos is summarize everything into a readable, detailed format. So you've got the options of physical costs, mental costs, and spiritual costs. And these are just a few examples. There's plenty more examples, but for the speed of this video, we're going to be talking about the more physical costs. So there's going to be exhaustion, pain, and injury. Mental costs, I don't like my magic systems affecting the mental state of the character. I'd like their actions to be what the mental costs are. If the fire hero decides to use a high level magic fire spell and it takes out a load of civilians with his enemy or his own troops, for example, then that will have a mental cost on him, not the magic itself being used. I'm not a big fan of mental cost. So in this instance, we're going to be picking up the physical cost, are what I want in this magic system. Do not have mental costs or spiritual costs. And remember, you're going to want to be doing this all the time. You're going to say you do not want this and you do not want this, so that it knows and it's confirmed in there that the physical costs are what you want in the magical system, etc. So it gives exhaustion of fatigue. Using minor spells and abilities, mild fatigue, moderate gives more, and major can cause a lot of extended time to recover. This adds a limitation, so your guy can't just run around, your protagonist can't run around just blowing everything up. It leaves time in between, which also really helps with character arcs and character progression, so you can have more conversations in the resting period. You can have other characters showing sympathy and respect to the person who's using the magic, the abilities, etc. Physical strain and injury, organ stress, sensory overload, these things are all kind of things. Chronic pain, physical deterioration, scarring and disfigurement. If you use too much fire, you can have backlash and burn all your skin. Now, there will be other things you're going to be wanting to work on in this magic system. You're going to want cultural integration, how it works within each culture. You're going to want to develop magical creatures and artifacts that may coincide with your magic system itself. You're going to want to do advanced techniques and innovations. Maybe science can come into play with the magic that's being used. Again, with a fire example, you may be able to use fire magic to fire cannonballs, and this could be something to make a nation stronger at war, for example. There's lots of different things that you can use, and these things you'll have to work on. Now, I haven't decided fully on what these will be in the novel series that I'm creating, so I won't be doing those right now, but I will leave a list of prompt examples for every section down in the description for you guys. So what we're going to do now is bring everything together and we're going to summarize. And the one I like to use for this is provide a summary and coherent integration of all elements we've discussed for our magic system. And then it will give you all of these details. It gives you the source, the chosen heroes, each nation has a single hero chosen by the nation, got to all their unique powers, divine resonance, the power and abilities, physical costs, the rock, paper, scissors dynamic, and additional notes. And it will have everything summarized. You're going to want to go through this and make sure that it has everything that you want inside of this. You can copy and paste this into here with changes and say, I've made some changes, please update the magic system summary. But this is the basic overview of what I want my magic system to be, and it's the actual magic system that I want as well, with the divine resonance, the powers, abilities, physical costs and limitations, etc., and the rock, paper, scissors dynamic, so each nation can fight and stronger against another nation, be weaker against another, and be neutral on a level par with other nations. So what we did in this video was we set the stage. We discussed what would make a good magic system. When we created the core concept, we created the rules and limitations for that concept, we created the consequences of that concept, and then we talked a little bit about other things that will be added in there: the cultural integration, the developing of magical creatures and artifacts, and the advanced techniques and innovations that can be used. And it's always really important in a magic system to keep consistent within the system's limitation. And that's all we have for this video. Have you guys created magic systems of your own? Let me know down in the comments if you've done anything like this. If you've used AI to help you create your AI systems, let me know down in the comments about these stories. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more creative content on using AI to build your world. We're going to be creating races and monsters in future videos. These are the ones that are going to be coming up. And then we're going to be doing cultures, societies, towns, cities, etc. And we'll go through individual bases to sort of bring it all into a document. And once you've finished and got the entirety of the summary done, you'll move that into a Google Doc or WordPad or whatever you use. There's a myriad of options you can use to keep your work together. And I want to thank you all for watching. And remember that there will be a list of prompts that you can use down in the description. Take it easy.